Greetings, wizards. Welcome to the Papercraft Wizard channel. My name is Kelly, and I'm so excited you're here. In this video, we're going to be creating a reverse waterfall page for our Charmed mini album. Let's get started. We're going to begin with a pocket page. This pocket page is 8 inches by 8 inches, and we created this in a previous video. And here we have a 7 7/8 inch by 7 7/8 inch piece of decorative paper. This is going to be the background for our page. Next, we have a piece of cardstock measuring 9 inches by 6 1/8 inch, and we're going to score this on both ends at a 1/2 inch on the 9-inch side. Now I'm folding at those score lines. And now we'll flip this cardstock piece over so our little tabs are sticking up. We're going to add our decorative piece upside down to this and center it. Next, we'll add our liquid adhesive and adhere those little tabs we created onto the back of the decorative paper. I'll use my bone folder to ensure those tabs are nice and secure. And now we're adding liquid adhesive to the entire back of this piece we've created, and we'll adhere that to our pocket page. And I'll use my bone folder to make sure it's nice and secure. Now we have a piece of cardstock that measures 7 5/8 inches by 6 1/8 inch. And we're going to score the 7 5/8 inch side at 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1 1/2, 2 inches, 2 1/2 inches, and 3 inches. Before we score this page, we'll add our piece of Tyvek. Our piece of Tyvek measures 3 1/2 inches by 6 1/8 inch, and this will reinforce all of those score lines. I'm going to use some Tim Holtz Distress Collage Medium. However, you can use your liquid adhesive that you're using for the rest of this project as well. And I'll use my bone folder to make sure it's nice and secure. Next, we have a piece of cardstock measuring a 1/2 inch by 7 3/8 inch. And we're going to score this on the 7 3/8 inch side at 1/2 inch and 5/8 inch. I have some tiny pieces of Tyvek measuring a 1/2 inch by 1 inch. And I'm going to use this over where we're going to put our score lines on our little strip. These little pieces of Tyvek are so small that I'm just going to use my regular liquid adhesive to adhere them in place. Now we have a piece of 5 3/8 inch by 6 1/8 inch cardstock, And we're going to score this on the 5 3/8 inch side at a 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch. And this is our magnetic closure flap. And I'll fold that at the score line. And I'm mitering our little corners on our tab we created, only up to that first score line. And now I'm adding some liquid adhesive to that little tab up to that first score line, and we'll adhere that at the very bottom of our page and centered. And I'll use my bone folder to make sure that's nice and secure. And now we're going to come back to our little reverse waterfall mechanism that has all of our score lines on it. We'll fold this piece at all of the score lines. For our first little 1/2 inch piece, that's going to be our adhering tab. So I'm going to miter those little corners and then we'll adhere that in place. Now we'll add our liquid adhesive and adhere that in place. I'll use my bone folder to make sure it's nice and secure. And now we can add our decorative paper to the inside and underneath portion of our mechanism. So first I have a piece of decorative paper that's 7 7/8 inches by 6 inches. This piece is underneath our reverse waterfall mechanism. Next, we have another piece of decorative paper measuring an 1/8 inch by 6 inches. And I just used the same piece of paper for this, so it was a continuous image. For this next piece, I wanted this little banner at the bottom. So the entire piece is 4.5 inches by 6 inches. And now we'll use our liquid adhesive and adhere our large piece as well as our 1/8 inch strip. And before we add our bottom piece, we're going to add our magnets. Now that we're at our bottom piece, I'm going to use some score tape to add a couple of magnets. All of our little photo mats that we're going to be adding to create our reverse waterfall measure 4 5/8 inches by 6 1/8 inch. I'm using one here to set where it will be at the top of the waterfall so that I know where to put my magnets to ensure that they connect with that top piece. Once I have the zone measured out of where I can put my magnets, I'll add my score tape. I'm going to use my bone folder to make sure that tape is on there nice and secure. Next, we'll peel off that release paper and we'll add our magnets to our magnetic flap. Next, we'll add our liquid adhesive to our decorative pieces and adhere them into place. Now we'll work on the other side of that magnetic flap. Here I have two pieces of decorative paper. The first is 4.5 inches by 6 inches, and the second is an 1/8 inch by 6 inches. That little tiny strip is going to go on the very bottom of that flap where we have our score line. And now we'll adhere our larger piece in place. And I'm adding this cute little decorative cut apart to the front of our magnetic closure. And again, our waterfall photo mats measure 4 5/8 inches by 6 1/8 inch. And now we'll add our liquid adhesive into each one of those 1/2 inch spaces we created with our score lines. We'll do this one at a time. I started with the top. It may be easier for you to start at the bottom. Next, we'll add our slider strip. I'm going to put this underneath the whole mechanism between the base and that mechanism. We'll slide that through and we'll have our little tab sticking up here. And I'm going to add some liquid adhesive and we're going to adhere these little tabs to the inside bottom of our little flaps mechanism. Next, I'm going to add some more score tape where our magnets are going to go. I have them magnetized onto the magnetic flap over where our other magnets are already in place. And so we're just going to add our score tape here. And now we'll fold that magnetic flap up and let it connect those magnets to our score tape. And now I have another piece of decorative cardstock measuring 4.5 inches by 6 inches. We'll adhere that right onto our top piece of our waterfall. And now we have 3/8 by 6 inch pieces to cover the end flaps of our waterfall where it hangs out here. And I used one piece of paper to create this so that it's a continuous image. And now our reverse waterfall is complete. If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and ring that bell for notifications. Thank you for watching. Happy paper crafting.